Muy buenos, good morning. We were waiting for the attendees to enter into the webinar. Right now there are 21, but they were registered 47. Probably people is trying to enter and register. Let's wait just a couple of minutes and we will start. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning through this webinar. My name is Diana Gallego. I'm the Associate Director at FCJ Refugee Center. Also, I'm the coordinator or the protection area and immigration for precarious status. Today, we are going to talk about the humanitarian and compassionate application. This is the agenda. We are going to talk what is the agency application, who is eligible, and which documents do you need to collect. The presentation is, we have guidelines that we put together through our experience working doing this kind of application, and you can find them at our website, fcjrefugeecenter.org, and we have the guides in Spanish, English, and Portuguese. I want to do a disclaimer. This presentation is only for information purposes. Is no legal advice. Again, we have been collecting all the tips and guidelines that we are providing today through our experience. FCJ Refugee Center have been doing this work for more than 29 years. I have been working with the center for the last 5 years, especially supporting refugees and precarious migrants. One of our main contributions to the community is to support those that need access to justice and that they cannot have access to a lawyer or legal aid to pay for legal advice. Then what is the humanitarian and compassionate? Normally people that are in Canada, they can become a permanent residence if they apply under the humanitarian and compassionate grounds. But people needs to be here in Canada. It cannot be do outside Canada. Then it's an unique an application for permanent residency. I say unique because most countries, they don't have this kind of application for people that are in a country without status. You need to present to immigration reasons why you should get the permanent resident in Canada. And they consider the best interest of the child directly affected. But this is not the only consideration. And further in my presentation, we will talk about the best interest of the child, plus other considerations that immigration can take on count. The humanitarian and compassionate does not stop removal procedures. If you as an individual or as a family have a removal order, and if, for example, you are ready to present the humanitarian and compassionate tomorrow, CBSA, that is the Canadian Border Services that will execute the removal order, can still doing it. However, if you present a strong humanitarian and compassionate submissions, you can't argue to the federal court with a procedure that is called judicial review to stop the removal order. That's why it's really important when you present your case to immigration, try to be and work harder that with your lawyer or through us, that the application is really strong, that have a strong considerations, because to argue in the federal court to stop a removal of a family of a person, then you need to prove that you are waiting for a decision from immigration on your humanitarian and compassionate considerations, and the chances to get a positive are really higher. One of the reasons that you can argue to the federal court is, for example, again, the best interest of the child, or if a family member that belongs to the family may be at risk because health considerations. Also, I want to say that you can ask questions. On the right side, sorry, we forgot to do housekeeping when we start the presentation. There is some buttons when you see your microphone, camera, there is a little button at the end that you can send your questions. Then at the end of the presentation, we will read the questions, and then I will try to answer them. Try not to put so specific questions or things about your individual case. At the end, we are going to provide our contact information and my email and a WhatsApp number, and then you can ask those personal questions. But I would love to have some general questions that will help everybody to understand what we are talking about. Then we are still talking about what is the humanitarian and compassionate and what does not include. Then the humanitarian and compassionate does not guarantee a work permit or the renewal of a work permit. Some people have been in Canada, for example, rejected refugee claimants. They came as a students with a work permit, or they came with a Thai work permit or open work permit, but the permit expired and the person remains in Canada. Then when you send a humanitarian compassionate, depends of the case, depends of the country that you are coming from. Sometimes you can do a renewal, but it's no guarantee that you can renew that work permit or to get a new one if it's already expired. Then depends of the case, depends of the conditions. I'm going to talk probably more about this during the presentation. But if you have been in Canada and you never applied for anything, for example, if you were a visitor at one point and you just overstay, you never have access to a work permit, then when you send the humanitarian application, you cannot get a work permit. You can apply, but in our experience, immigration will not give it to you. Then it's not a guarantee. Every case it needs to be analyzed in individual basis. Also, it will not provide the applicant with any status in Canada. Then sometimes clients tell me, okay, then what is the point to apply? And I said, you will continue with our status. You will not have access to a work permit against according with the cases, and you will not have coverage of healthcare. But if you remain without status, then you will never have a chance to become a permanent resident. Then you are the one who needs to initiate the process. And luckily in Canada, we have this humanitarian and compassionate application. And we have at the center many, luckily we have a good rate of positive applications. Also, as I mentioned before, this agency will not stop removal procedures by just sending the application. You need to go to the federal court and do a judicial review to stop the removal. Who is ineligible? If you are a refugee claimant in Canada and your claim is still pending to the Refugee Protection Division, that is the entity that will hear your case and will deem you that or you are a convention refugee or you need protection in Canada. If that is still pending, you cannot present a humanitarian and compassionate case. Again, we have many clients that unfortunately had been in Canada for many years. For example, 4 or 5 years waiting for a refugee decision to go to the hearing. In Canada right now, we have a backlog of cases of more than 90,000 cases waiting for a hearing. Then, unfortunately, they come to our center and they said, I want to put a humanitarian compassionate because I had been doing all these things. So this is my special case. And we said, you cannot put a humanitarian compassionate while you are waiting. Then some people said, okay, I would love to withdraw my refugee claim. And I don't want to wait any longer. And what we said is, this is not recommendable because if you withdraw or you abandon your refugee claim, then you may be removed from Canada. Because refugee claimants, when they claim protection, they sign a document that they will be removed if the claim is denied, if it's abandoned or withdrawn. And remember, the humanitarian compassion will not stop that removal. Then it's better to still waiting for your claim because you are protected not to be removed from Canada. Again, I want to remind you that you can ask questions with the little pencil that you see under the buttons that are at the right side of your screen. Also, there is a 12 months bar. I'm going to explain what this means. If a person gets the refugee claim rejected or abandoned or withdraw, the client cannot make a humanitarian compassion application after 12 months pass by. For example, tomorrow a refugee claimant receives the reasons that were denied, a document from the IRB, then that person has to wait 12 months. There is some exemptions, and in my next slides, I'm going to talk about that. Also, they need to wait 12 months if the refugee claimant have decided to do an appeal, or if they went for a judicial review to the federal court. I'm going to explain a little more about this for those that haven't made a refugee claim. When you come to Canada, if you made a refugee claim and if your case is rejected, then there is two kind of appeals that you can make. One is to the Refugee Appeal Division, that is part of the Refugee Protection Division in Canada. When you get rejected, you have 15 days to start your appeal, and then that will count against from the 12 months back. As I mentioned before, for example, if a client goes the decision today, June 4, and decide to make the appeal, then the Refugee Appeal Division will answer that appeal, for example, in 6 months. Then in December, when they the Refugee Appeal Division answer, and again, if they reject the case, they confirm the first decision, then the 12 months bar will start in December, not in June that you got the first one. Also, if you are allowed to go to the federal court, then, and if you decide to do it, then again, the decision, the 12 months bar will start again when you do the judicial review. When you do an appeal, they cannot remove you with the first appeal, the Refugee Appeal Division. But doing a judicial review to the federal court, unfortunately, they can remove you. Then so people has to decide if they go and do, most of the time I said do the appeal, because they cannot remove you. But for the second one, the judicial review, we always said think about, because it's going to cost you a lot of money, and they can still remove you if the case is not strong. Then it's case by case. Also, there are some claimants that enter from at the border from the United States, and they are applied to the safety country agreement, and they cannot go to the to do the first appeal, that is the appeal to the Refugee Appeal Division. They are banned to do the appeal to the division. Then they had to go to the federal court. Then the 12 months bar will start when they get the answer of the judicial review at the federal court. There are two exemptions of the 12 months bar that you can request. And one of them is the best interest of the child. If there are children in the application involved, Canadian born child, or from that they were born back home, you can request the exemption. Means as soon as I'm ready to present the application, and I got or the first decision or the second decision, I can make the humanitarian compassionate, requesting that the best interest of the child should be considered. Also, if some member of the family have a medical condition that will put at risk the life of the person. If there is these two exemptions, then you don't need to wait the 12 months. Also, if there is the best interest of the child can be requested, even if the children are outside Canada. For example, we had many clients that are alone here, but they have children back home. And dependents for immigration are until they are 22 years old. Before they turn 22, they are considered dependents. Then the best interest of the child can be argued. Then who is included in the application? Then the principal applicant, the spouse, dependent children in Canada, again, that there are under 22. But they need to be in Canada. If there is a single person, then they need to declare the whole family, even the spouse and dependents are back home, but they are not included in the principal application, the humanitarian and compassionate. If I'm here, but my spouse and my children are back home, and when I present my humanitarian application, and if I get approved, then the humanitarian compassionate is like two stages. The first one is to send the application. And if I get approved, then I had to meet all the requirements to become a permanent resident. After I get the permanent resident, the landing papers, then I had to sponsor and put another application, a sponsorship for family class. Then I can bring my spouse or my dependent children under 22 to Canada. But I had to mention them in my humanitarian application. It's not like the refugee. Sorry, it's not like when I apply for my humanitarian compassionate, then when I get my permanent resident, my family will get at the same time the permanent resident. Unfortunately, no. Then you had to make another application to sponsor them. But because you mentioned them in the first humanitarian compassion application, you have the right to bring them and to be reunified with them. But you need to do another application that is called family sponsorship class. If there is any adults in the application, for example, in some families come with the grandparents, and they have a child that is more than 22, then the family, the close family members like mother, father, and children that are less than 22 will be one application. Another application will be for the grandparent, and another application for the child that is older than 22. But you put all the package together and you send it to immigration, and you can make the almost the same arguments for all of them. But you need to send each application separate with their own submissions, with their own forms, and you need to pay $550 for the principal applicant and the spouse. For dependent children under 22, you have to pay $150. And if you are including a grandparent, then you need to pay $550. Any adult that is more than 22 will pay $550. Any dependent less than 22, $150. Also, you can access to legal aid. Legal aid in Canada is the organization that will support refugee claimants or any person that needs to access to justice, a family matter or immigration matter, and is in the humanitarian and compassionate is included. And if you prove that you need financial support and that your case may have a strong merit, Then they will support you. They will pay for a lawyer to do the humanitarian and compassion application for you. And we had many cases that we said it's better that you have a lawyer, and we believe that you qualify, and then we also can refer you to a lawyer that we know that they accept legal aid, that they will work hard, really hard for your case. Also, if there is a minor, that the principal applicant is a minor and is a company minor in Canada, we strongly suggest to apply for legal aid. Most of the time they will get it. Then again, they will have the support of a lawyer. In our center, we take cases when there is no legal aid support. We know that some families will don't meet the financial needs requirements for legal aid, but also they don't earn a lot of money to pay a lawyer, because one immigration consultant, because these applications sometimes are really expensive. I hear some clients telling me, my application was rejected. I pay a lawyer between $5,000-$7,000. Then when we see that the client don't qualify for legal aid, but they don't have enough money to pay a lawyer, we will take the case, and our services are completely free. Again, you only need to pay the $550 or $150 for the application, and that money is paid to immigration, not to us. Then what really is the humanitarian compassion application? Is about hardship, what the person will face if they are removed back to their country of origin. The time that they had been established in Canada, the things that they had built in Canada, and if they go back, what they are going to face. Then we will put all this together, and we will do a research. And it's just not to say, okay, if I go back, I will be homeless because I don't have a home. We need to prove that, and also we need to do a research of the conditions back home. There is also some facts that we need to consider. How old are the applicants? Because unfortunately, in some countries, um, especially you are a woman and you are 45, 50 years old, then you will not be able to find a job, unfortunately. Then all these considerations we will explain to immigration that that's going to affect you, that here you have a job, even if the job is cleaning or in construction. And here with the cleaning job or as a store clerk, you can survive, but back home you will not do it. And for your age, will be really complicated to find a job or go back into the profession that you used to have. The time that you have been in Canada, the reasons why you were forced to stay, and the status, if you were rejected refugee claimants. For example, we have cases that they reject the case. The Refugee Protection Division will say, I'm sorry, I believe you, what happened to you, but we strongly believe that you can live in another region, in another in another part of the country safe. That the things that happen to you here in this city, the person, the group will not find you again in this other region. and you couldn't explain me why you cannot be safe in this other part of the country. Then those cases are really strong because we can explain, for example, this person is a survivor um, of a domestic violence. And because for some domestic violence cases, they said there is a strong state protection that you didn't access. For example, you just choose to come to Canada and didn't request the state protection, and we believe this country can protect you. But there is a lot of things that then we can argue in the humanitarian, because remember, in the humanitarian compassionate is no, we cannot argue again that your life is going to be a risk, that you are going to be killed. For example, if it's a survivor of domestic violence by your partner, because the Refugee Protection Division already argued that there is a state protection. But what we can argue is that even that person can relocate it to another part of the country, and probably that individual will not find. It's really hard for that survivor to be sent back to. That person can be re-traumatized, that to live again all those things that happened to her. For example, if it's a mother, and then she will probably had been suffering of post-traumatic stress disorder, that if she goes back, she will not have all the psychological support that she found here, that she will not be able to function as a mother, that even there is state protection shelters in their country, all the things that is going to be affected. That all those little things we can use. But we cannot say she's going, for example, to be a risk, because that already was assessed. But we can use some background of what happened. But if you haven't asked for a refugee protection, then we will request you to write your story, why you were forced to leave your country, poverty, general violence. And then we can use these little things plus what you had been doing in Canada. Also, then one thing that we need to prove to immigration is that the person or the family is established in Canada. This is really important. And how we are going to prove that? Then that you have a bank account in Canada, that you have a life insurance, that you probably are the owner of a home, depends on your situation, that you have savings. Also, that you are a good tenant, that sometimes you cannot have a letter from the owner of the place that you rent, because probably it's a company. Then we need to be creative, and you can present the receipts of the rent, or probably your neighbor can say they have been living in this house for the last 2 years and they are good neighbors, they participate of these things, wherever they have to set. Also, part of the establishment is work. That is really important, that you are not receiving Ontario works, because you need to prove to Canada that you are independent, that you are self-sufficient, that even though you don't have a work permit, there is no other chance that you can survive here. Then that you were forced to work without authorization. Also, that sometimes if you can get a job offer, for example, a company can say, I know this person have these certain skills that I really, really needed. And if immigration provide the person with the permanent residence, I will be ready to hire this person. That's another important part of the to prove of the establishment that you will be contributing to Canada. Also, there is some people, some clients that, for example, they have restrictions. If they were rejected refugee claimants, and CBSA already contacted them to start removal proceedings, but they cannot be removed because many reasons. There is somebody in the family or the individual that have health condition or mental health condition that is not safe to remove them. Or they don't have a travel document that is accessible to them to travel, or the conditions of the country doesn't allow Canada to remove them. For example, if they are still in war, but they didn't recognize you as a refugee claimant, then they cannot remove the person, then the person has to still here. And if they sign some conditions that says, we are not removing you, you can remain in Canada until the conditions change, but you cannot work without an authorization, then you must comply with these requirements. Then for those persons that cannot be removed, remember I mentioned before that about the work permit, then in these cases, you can apply for a work permit and prove that you cannot be removed because the things that I mentioned, mental health condition, or that you have an illness that can put you at risk if they put you in a plane that you cannot travel, or there is conditions in your country that are not allowed Canada to remove people safely, then in that case, if you have a humanitarian compassionate pending, you can apply for a work permit. That's why I said it's better to see case by case to see if you can apply for a work permit or renew your work permit. In these conditions, immigration sometimes will agree to provide you with a work permit. Unfortunately, I see that most of the time immigration will provide only you with a 6 months work permit. Then most of the time, every 6 months, you have to reapply again, and you had to pay $255 for this work permit. But I have clients that while they wait for the applications, they get every 6 months a work permit. And then it's possible. But if you never have a work permit and you send an application for humanitarian compassionate and none of those conditions are present, in general, we don't recommend to apply for the work permit. Okay. Also, to prove the establishment, if at one point you already, because you used to have an open work permit, or you were a student with a work authorization, that at one point you were able to pay taxes, then all these can be evidence that you are able to contribute, that you are willing to do all the things that Canada asks to any regular permanent resident or citizen. Sorry, I moved this. Some people will say, okay, I never pay taxes, but I have registered a business, a cleaning business or a construction business, but I haven't been able to pay the GST, for example. How can I get social insurance number? Then the answer is you cannot get a social insurance number, but when you send the application for the humanitarian application and For example, we work together, we have the humanitarian application ready, and we send it to immigration. Then when immigration receives the package and everything is in order, all the forms are signed, everything is ready, you comply with all the requirements, then they will send back to the client a letter saying, we acknowledge that we received your application, that you are applying for a permanent residency under the humanitarian and compassionate in Canada. Then you will have an application number that start with H. Then with that letter, with the registration of the business, you can get uh, a tax number that is not the social insurance number. It's a unique tax number that will be provided to you. Then you can later on do an update on your application saying I was not able before to pay taxes, to do my GST that I obliged to do it because I couldn't get the tax number, the unique tax number, but now I did it. I'm already did my taxes, and then with the humanitarian compassionate, you can do updates. And you can do updates because the humanitarian compassionate will take between 12 months up to 30 months to get an answer from immigration. Most of the time, according with our experience, 70% of the applications will get an answer around 12 months, 15 months. 30% will go up to 2 years, 2.5 years, the 30 months. But 70% will get an answer around the 12 months. Then you will have 12 months to do, or up to 30 months to do any updates. For example, my child is almost going to finish school when I sent the application, but now after 1 year, he already graduated, applied to college, university, couldn't accept the invitation to enter to school, but all those things that are accomplishment in Canada, then oh, now I'm paying taxes, then you can do updates to like upgrade your application and provide more information why you deserve to be granted with a permanent residency. If you are telling me, okay, I don't have social insurance number, I don't have a business registration, what can I do? Then you can get letters from your bosses, supervisors, co-workers, or potential employees saying to immigration, look, I know this person is a good worker. They had these skills that Canada needs. For example, she's training to be a PSW. Then right now, or in general, support workers. We need a lot of support workers in Canada. Then she had been taking care of me, things like that. Then all these letters of support will be important. Sometimes they are telling me, but they only pay me on cash. How am I going to prove that I work? Because my employer doesn't want to provide me with a letter. Then I said, if you have a bank account and you deposit that money every month, then we can prove that you are working. Like, for example, cleaning houses. Then we can say she's cleaning houses, and this is the evidence that she's putting the money every month, and with that money, she's surviving in Canada. Part of the establishment is family connections. If there is other family members in Canada, if you have kids, but you have other family members that have kids, then how is the relationship? Will be really good to get letters of support from the family. For example, if we are applying for a grandmother, and that grandmother had become the support member of the family because the couple works from Sunday to Sunday, then the grandmother is the one who can take care of the kids, or you are the aunt, or how is the relationship, how is important. It's not only said, oh, my kids get together and they enjoy life, and if the cousins are removed, they're going to be sad. Then most of the time immigration will answer, well, they can be connected now. There is WhatsApp, there is FaceTime, then they can be seeing each other. Then if we can move a little further and say how this family and the support of this family impact the life of the family that have a status in Canada, then it will be more powerful. Also will be good to include any education, if you have been taking any training, even a small training, how the kids are doing in a school. This is really important, because remember, one of the strongest consideration is the best interest of the child. I get some clients saying, okay, I'm from Portugal, I have a Canadian child, then immigration should be granted permanent residency because I have a Canadian child. And my answer is no. It's not only because you have a Canadian child. We need to argue if this Canadian born child is going to be removed to Portugal, then is this child going to have access to healthcare, to free education, yes or no? Then it's different to remove a child to Portugal, that is part of the European Union, to remove a child back to the south, like Africa or South America or Central America. Then, and even in South America, there are countries, for example, that immigration will argue, well, this country um, have good healthcare, have a good free education, then every country had their own conditions that we can support. Then it's not only because you have a child that was born in Canada. We need to put elements to the best interest of the child, because they can say, okay, your child can go back to Portugal and they can come back when they are 18 years old, or they can come back anytime. Then it's not enough. Then that's why it's really important that the whole family works together towards to have a strong application, and we can use all those elements. Then if the child, even if the child was not born in Canada, but they are a good student, they can get letters from the teachers, not only a letter saying, oh, he's registered in this school. No, this child, he's part of the science club or the reading club or the basketball team of our school. All those things will be more powerful than just saying, oh, my child was born in Canada and what else. Also, the involvement in the community. All the time I have been telling the clients, especially the refugee claimants, try to find evidence about your case, try to be the best prepared for your hearing. But one important thing is to do networking, to do volunteer work, to be involved in the community. And how can you be involved in the community? There is faith-based organizations that they do a lot of work. They have food banks, they have drop-in centers. Also, there is among the communities, they have cultural events. Then you need to be immersed in the community to have a strong letters of support. A lot of people tell me, okay, I had been tried to get a volunteer work, but they required a criminal record. And I'm afraid uh, to ask for that document. I cannot get a criminal record, not because I have a criminal record, it's because I'm without status. I'm really afraid to get and ask for these papers. Then I'm said, you need to look for for example, a faith-based organization or an organization that is rooted in the community. There is a lot of organizations that they will not ask you for a criminal record because you will not be in contact directly with vulnerable clients. If you are working with seniors, children, of course, they need to ask for that. But there is a lot volunteer positions that are like at the back that you don't interact with these vulnerable communities, especially food banks. But also, I need to tell you that nobody's going to knock at your door and say, welcome to Canada, you want to volunteer, I have this position for you. No, you need to go out and look for that. Also, some clients said, I don't speak the language, but there are um, some positions that they will not need you to have a strong English conversations or that you need to write. You just need to have a basic. Also, this will help you to get to improve your English. Speaking English. Then I strongly recommend you to look for a volunteer position. Some clients tell me I work from Sunday to Sunday. I don't have time, but I said we need to work together. We need to work together. You have been in Canada for 5 years and you haven't done volunteer work. Don't apply for a humanitarian compassionate. You need to prove to Canada that you not only have been working here, that also you have been supporting the organization, supporting the community. Others had been telling me, but I don't know, I only have these friends. Then ask your friends. And you don't need to disclose, oh, it's because I don't have a status, or I was rejected, my case was rejected, and I need to do volunteer work. No, you just need to say, I want to do a volunteer work, and even citizens of Canada do volunteer work. This is really important in Canada. Then nobody will question you, oh, how come you want to do free time? No, this is sometimes back in our countries, we see that volunteer work is like free work. But here, you should not see it like that. And I'm talking because I lived that experience. I came in Canada as a refugee. I couldn't speak English. But I started doing volunteer work in a food bank, and that helped me a lot. Also, those people that I did volunteer work, they become my friends. That become my letters of recommendation to find a job, to be a letter of recommendation to find a place to live. Then it's not only if you are listening and you are a refugee claimant, then you don't know what's going to happen to your case. I hope you get a positive, but if no, then do a networking. And the networking is going out into the community. Then, or you will do those if you are rejected for later on to do a humanitarian compassionate, or you will use those recommendations and those friendships that you will get doing volunteer work to get a job, to get recommendations for a lot of things, or they become your family in Canada. A lot of us just came, for example, myself with the three of us, my husband and my child, and those friends become my family here. Then it's really important. But again, nobody is going to knock at your door and invite you. Please go out and ask, and you will not regret it. I have been talking about the letters of support. Then it's really how, if you live just by yourself and you don't go out, you just have a couple of friends, then if you said, I need to do a humanitarian application, I will request letters of support. And I get answers, oh, I have been in Canada for 20 years. I don't have any friends. I only have a couple of friends. Then how are you going to support your case? But I have people that have been only in Canada for 2 or 3 years, and they bring me a lot of letters of support from organizations, from doctors, from even members of parliament. Then those cases are really, really strong. And that there is another common question. How long should I wait to send a humanitarian application? Most people will say after 1 year you can do it, but all depends on your establishment. Um, After 1 year, I always said it's really hard to prove to immigration you are established, but some people can do it, and depends of the case. If, for example, if you are a minor and a company minor, and you have been in Canada only for 1 year, but you have a strong case, then you don't have a lot of letters of support, but you have letters of support from a psychologist, a family doctor, because you have a certain condition or a mental health condition. Then every case is different. But again, if you don't have a medical condition or a health condition, it's better then to have a letter of support from community members, organizations. And again, I have cases that only had been here for 2 years, and the establishment is that you said, wow. And others that have been for 10, 20 years, and they cannot even get one letter of support. They never have been doing volunteer work. Then prepare yourselves to start doing it, because you never know when you are going to need those letters of support. What they should set in the letter of support, then, and there is no a magic number. You can have only, as I mentioned, 5 letters, but they are really strong. Or you can have 20 letters saying, oh, all of them, this person is really kind, and that's it. The better, the strong letters is the ones that I know the person and I know what to say about the person. Sometimes they say, can I have a draft, an example? And I said, look, the better is the one that what the person has to say about you. Okay, I met this person when I was doing my ESL classes. Okay, what this person has to say about you. Because I was better in pronunciation, then I support that person, then that person can say that about you. Sometimes the children, they are really good at math, then they can have a letter from another friend that can say, my friend had been assisting me in math because he's really good at math and he's always kind and support me, or I don't have nobody that can assist me with my children, and then this person is picking up them after school. Whatever they had to say, those are the best and strong letters. And if the family knows you back home, it's not to say, oh, the family is going to be a risk, because remember that already was discussed if you are a rejected refugee claimant. But if they can say, I know the family from back home, they were really poor. I know the house that they used to have, there is no more house any longer, or the family doesn't have any support because the only person that can support them is the mother or the father, and they are really living in a poor conditions, or the neighborhood, whatever they have to set if they know back home. Okay, it's 10:30. Let's go and have 2-3 minutes break that you can go to drink water, go to the washroom, and then we'll again continue with the humanitarian and compassion application. Also take this time to make any questions. If you want to have a question, we can answer at the end of the presentation. Okay, then 3 minutes. I will be back in 3 minutes. Okay, thanks for waiting. Let's continue. Okay, we were talking about the letters of support. We already talked about this. Again, if the letters are from official institution, then they need to have the letterhead. They need to be signed. Sometimes I get letters from organizations that they were not signed and I need to return them. then it's really important that you ask the persons to sign the letter. Also, the personal ones, if they have an ID, it will be good if they include the PR card or the passport. Some people will say that they are not comfortable doing this. Then in the letter, the individual letter, they should put an address, a phone, an email, because this will guarantee immigration that there is a person writing this letter. In the last 5 years, I never have a former client telling me, oh, they call my friends, or they call my employee. In that sense, immigration trusts people that this letter are from a real person. They will not call, but then you need to assure them that there is an address and phone and contact that they can do it. And you never know when immigration is going to start doing it. Until now, this doesn't happen. That's why the official letters should be an official document and with a signature. That's really important. We talk a lot of hardship. Then this is the part that FCJ Refugee Center will do. As I mentioned before, this is a work that we have to do together. We do the first intake, we will take your questions, and we will say, okay, we believe these are the things that you need to bring to us to try to make your application really a strong application. And then with those elements, if you bring a psychological report because you suffer post-traumatic stress disorder and you are still doing taking therapy, one of your kids were accepted to university or college. Unfortunately, they cannot attend because they had to pay as international students, or they were in the dean's role, whatever it is. Then with all these elements, we will do a research about your country conditions. And again, it's not about persecution or risk or torture, but we can mention discrimination. For example, if you are from a tribe that had been discriminated and they cannot have access to the same rights and liberties of other people, you are from a minority, an indigenous community, and then access to education and the health is not the same, we can use all these elements. Then if you are a rejected refugee claimant, we will ask you to bring the basis of claim. That is the main document when you tell your story or narrative, and the decision why you were denied, because remember, they believe you but they said you were going to be safe in another part of the country, then we can use that background, that story, and why you will not be able to relocate it in this other part of the country. But if there is also, then we can use that. But if you haven't made any application before, then we going to ask you to write your story. What happened to you? Why you were forced to leave your country? That it was not a refugee case, but it was poverty. It was discrimination. It was you are a survivor of domestic violence. All these elements, then we will put these elements together and we will do a research from websites, documents, and human rights organizations that will back up what we are saying. I already talked about the discrimination. Then we will include this, and we will support this with research. Health. If you are going with a child that have a condition, for example, we have a case that the child have an allergy that was she gets really bad reactions to the allergy, and it's especially in summer hot days, and the country that she's from is have all those conditions. Then we were able to have letter from a former physician that used to give her treatments, and we were able to have a letter saying that the medication that was taken in Canada is available in that country of origin, but it's going to be so expensive, and the health is private that you had to pay, and the access for this medicine was really hard to get it, because the cost. Then we were able to prove that to remove this family with this child will put this child at risk, and she was no Canadian born child. But they considered the case, and then the family was accepted. And then all these elements, then we can work, and then we can put a strong application. If you have been in Canada, but because of we know that the experience of migration sometimes bring to you depression, the weather. You used to be in a sunny, hot country, and here the long months, people get mental health conditions, and if you are receiving treatment, and if we can prove that that treatment will not be available in your country, or your child needs support in school because it has a disability, all these things we can put it together, and it will make your case stronger. Again, if you are being returned a country that is plagued by poverty, that in Canada you have been surviving, but there it is going to be really difficult, then all these elements, we will make sure to put it in the application. If you are going to be removed to the country, again, are you going to be able to find a job? There is social services there to reestablish yourself. All these things are really important. And the best interest of the child or children involved in the application. If you have kids with you, or you have kids back home, then we need to prove to immigration how they are going to be impacted. You are the sole provider, and you are here, but you are sending money back home. Then we will need proof of that. If your child can go to a school, and a good school, and has a good education, because you are sending the money for them to go to school, we can elaborate with all these elements. Then we will need letters from your kids back home, from your spouse, saying how important is that the money that you send, that they can survive. And if they are here, again, if they are good students, if they are doing extra activities, and if they are going to be removed, what are the things that they are going to lose? If you have a child that can write a letter saying, since I came to Canada, I feel, for example, free to walk the streets because For example, in Mexico, I was always worried that I was going to be kidnapped, or if it's a woman, a girl, I was going to be attacked. And here I feel free. But not only that, I'm dreaming to become this and that. Then those are really powerful letters to immigration. Then to involve the kids in the application is really good, and to talk to them, what are you doing? That will be important. Then I have been telling you all these letters of support, from where and how you can get them. I have given examples. Then this is for you to have it there. And again, the country conditions, but again, this part, if you have, if you want to bring to us, but they need to be in English, some documents that you believe are important to your case, but they need to be from a verified sources. You cannot bring us because a blogger is saying this and this, or you bring a newspaper that is nobody knows, then those articles are not good. Most of the time, I tell the clients, don't worry about this part. This is the part that FCJ Refugee Center will do. And here I'm going to mention that we have volunteers, and we have law students that they do pro bono work with us. And without their support, then FCJ Refugee Center will not be able to take all the cases that we take on and do it. Francisco Rico, who is the co-director, and me, that the coordinator of the protection area, both of us work together with the clients to start the application. But at the end, the ones that write the documents, do the submissions with our support, are the volunteers and students from university like York University, Ryerson University, University of Ottawa, University of Toronto, and those are students that are doing a master or are doing a law school. Then they are the ones who um, write the submissions. We discuss the cases, and because the experience that we had been having for all these years, Francisco Rico with 29 years of experience and me doing it for the last 5 years, then we discuss the cases and we see what is the best scenario and route that we can take with the case, how we can support the individual or the family working together to do the application. Then that's why I believe we have a good rate of positive cases in our center, because the teamwork that we have. And at the end, we have most of the time 1 or 2 pro bono lawyers that at the end they review the drafts. That's why sometimes it takes a couple of months for us to put a case together, because we don't want to rush. When it is an emergency, and depends the case, we rush, but most of the time we take our time, because I say to clients, look, you have been here for 5 years or 10 years, and it's better to put a strong application now that you are going to reappear again to immigration. That's just to send something because I remember, oh, I don't have a status. Really, this year my kid is finishing grade 12 and I need a status. We ask for patience, provide us with time, and then at the end you will have a good and a strong application. We have some resources that again is the what are the documents that you need, how you can prove this and that. Then we have all those documents in the website. We have in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. We are almost at the end of the presentation. Again, this is not to be considered any legal advice. is just because the experience that I told you we had been acquired through all this year doing these applications. We have putting together all these tips for you to think if this humanitarian and compassion application will be a remedy for your situation in Canada. Thank you so much for listening to us. I'm going to see if there is questions. I don't see. I'm going to probably ask Carolina. Can you read the questions because I don't see it here? Can you unmute yourself and read them?
Questions.
Okay, what are the questions?
Let me open here. The first one says, if I am a refugee claimant, can I switch to humanitarian and compassionate? What a strong consideration that would help the case? That's the first question.
Okay, I already talk about this, but I will repeat. Probably they join us later on. If you are a refugee claimant and you are waiting for your hearing or are waiting for the decision, it's better to continue with the refugee case because you cannot have a refugee claim and at the same time you cannot submit a humanitarian application. And remember, the humanitarian and compassion application will not stop removals, will not stop deportation from Canada. But if you are doing a refugee case, they cannot remove you. Then the best is to get all these tips and work. If they say no to your case, that you are able to do a humanitarian and compassionate, then do volunteer work and try to start connecting with the community, that if they say no to you, you are ready for a strong humanitarian and compassionate. But we don't recommend to abandon your case from a refugee claimant because they cannot remove you. At the moment that you abandon your case or you withdraw your case, then they can remove you and the humanitarian will not stop deportation.
Thank you, Diana. The next question says, is it true that the decision of the humanitarian application takes around 10 months?
I mentioned that according to our experience, if you go and see immigration, they will set the processing time for a humanitarian compassion application is between 12 months up to 30 months. I have cases, 70% that they will get an answer between the 12 months, 15 months, but I have 30% applications that go up to 2 years. Recently, this year, we have two cases of accompanied minors that got an answer in 6 months. But these were exceptional cases that got detention from immigration and they got in 6 months. In the last 5 years that I've been working, this is the first time that we got an answer 9 months. But most of the time, 70% up to 12 months, and I have cases waiting for more than 2 years for an answer. Right now, we have one pilot project that is especially for survivors of family violence in Canada. If you are here and you suffer domestic violence or family violence, there is a pilot project for 2 years that started in October 2019 that the government says if you are here and you suffer domestic violence or family violence and you are a survivor, you can present your case to immigration. You will get an application that is called TRP, Temporary Resident Permit. They will provide you with 6 months or at least 1 year. Most of the time is 1 year. With this temporary resident permit, you will get an open work permit. And then you are able to present a humanitarian and compassion application. And they said, because this is new, they said that the decision will get it, the claimant, the person, the application will get an answer in 6 months. But because this is new, we right now we don't have experience with this. But we have been getting for survivors of domestic violence that they were promised, come here, I will marry you, I will sponsor, and then they end in a family violence, or like what I mentioned, these minors, accompanying minors. Sometimes the family, because of poverty, they send it to the aunt or uncle here. And what they found in Canada is violence, then family violence. Then the children say sometimes intervene, sometimes don't. They come to our center, and then these type of cases then will get a temporary resident permit for 1 year, but they must put a humanitarian compassion application. This they will probably get an answer in 6 months. But if it's a no part of the family violence or domestic violence pilot project, it will get from 12 to up to 30 months.
Thank you, Diana. There is another participant that says, thank you for sharing this webinar. Please, could you send me a record of this webinar later?
Okay, we need to mention that that we are going to do a postcard that you can find this presentation in our website, and also the postcards. It will be part of what we have been talking today, that you can review them again. And also, if you have a particular question about your case, then go to our website, and there is going to be my email is Diana Gallego at fcjrefugeecenter.org. But again, go to our website, go to the staff, and you will get my email. Also, you will get, we have now a WhatsApp number that you can contact us if you don't have a number, Canada number. Then you can contact us through WhatsApp, send your personal questions, or you can call us. Right now, we are not seeing clients in person at the center, but we are answering everything through phone. I go to work at the center 3 times a week. But again, we can answer your questions by phone, WhatsApp, or an email. And wherever you ask to us is going to be private, and it's going to stay with us. It's not going to be shared with anybody in particular with immigration, because we are an NGO, a no governmental organization, and we don't share our information with anybody, especially with immigration. There you are going to be safe wherever is the question that you want to ask. Again, thank you for being part of our extended community. And if you are in Canada without status and you are struggling because of the COVID-19, you lose your job, you are struggling feeding your family, then you can contact us and we will see how we can help you. We are in this together, and thank you so much for being here.
Diana,
Again, you can check our website.
Diana,
Yes.
we have a couple of more questions now.
Okay. Sure.
One say, what is the alternative since the volunteering process is on hold down?
Yes, right now it's on hold. But there is still some food banks that are operated. Um, but I don't think so. This is the time to put you at risk, because if you are without status, then I don't want people to get exposed right now. As I was telling you, you have been probably for some months or years here, then wait that the government opens again most of the things, that things is going to be not normal again, because we know that it's going to be changes, but that the organizations will reopen again and will reopen the volunteers. But right now, there is a lot of food banks, especially from churches that are providing food, that talk to your contact and see if they know any church that need volunteers preparing meals or delivering food. We know that a lot of grassroots organizations are doing it, and they had been asking in Facebook or in their church members to look for volunteers. But again, um, don't expose yourself if there is no need for that, that you can wait. Just start looking. When everything opens, you can find a placement.
The next question is related to the documents. It says what documents I can send for update and how long I can do.
Okay, the documents for updates, I will set, for example, you got a new job. Um, your child finished school and got an honors degree from the high school, got an offer. Right now, the children that finish grade 12 are getting the answers from college or universities, and probably this child cannot attend because they are requesting the payment of international student. But these things are new, then you can send it. Now my child finished high school and he was offering entry to the university. Then this is the proof. This is a good one. I have a new job. I was able to get my taxes. Remember, because now you have probably, you send your humanitarian compassionate, you have a business registration. Now it's time that you can get the tax unique number and you can do your taxes. You got more letters of volunteer work, because when you send your application, you were just starting the volunteer, but now after months, you have more people that can provide you with more letters. Collect all of them. Just not send one this month, another next month. No, try to collect them. If they are important, that you can send it as an update. And there is in the CICGC.ca website, there is something that you can look that is called IRCC website. Then through this website, you can send documents. Uh, through the online portal, that you don't need to send it by paper, because now immigration is closed. Then I advise strongly, if you have really important things that may decide your case, send it. Sometimes I get reports from when you send your application, you just were starting counseling, and the letter that the counselor provide you was not too strong, because you were only having 2 or 3 sessions. But now, after 1 year of sessions, the counselor can provide you with a stronger letter or a family doctor, something really important. Just don't send anything to send anything. Just collect them and send it. And you can send it by paper too, to the original address in Vancouver that they received your case.
Okay, we have different participants. Thank you for an excellent webinar. And the last question says, I have 2 questions. If I go back to my country while my agency case is in process, will it affect my case if I go back to my country? That's the first question. And the second one says, I have applied for agency, but it's been 1 month. I didn't receive any application number or something.
Okay, the first question is, if you go back to your country, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Immigration will decide your case probably against you because you are not here. Then there is no need to say yes. Many years ago, people that were removed, sometimes the application was approved. But in the last time, what I see is when the people go back to their country, the officer, when they write the decision, they said, well, you are no longer in the country, you are no longer in Canada, then all the things that were affecting you, that this and this, then they are not relevant anymore. Then that's why we decide that we are not going to approve your case. Then is if you want to become a permanent resident and you believe your case is strong, you need to remain in Canada. The second one is I know we send applications in submissions in new applications in January, February, and I haven't received the acknowledgement letter. What we believe is that in March, the March 13, 15 is where everything were closed. They were only going to, when you send the package, they need to open the package, review the forms, review if you send the minimum requirements. Sometimes I have clients that they send back the package because they forgot to sign a form. For example, they were doing it by themselves and they forgot to sign a form. Then immigration will send back you the package. Then they take time to review the package that they had the minimum requirements, like a signature. Then probably it takes about, when I send a package, it takes about 3, 4, 5 weeks to get the letter. But because the COVID-19, they were all probably only reviewing those cases, and because they closed right now, immigration is closed. It means the immigration officers are not going to the buildings of immigration in Vancouver to open and see these applications. They are dealing with the applications that were already on file, because when they receive the package, they scan all the documents. Then I have been receiving answers for cases that have been waiting 2 years, 1 year, because they were already in process, they were scanned. But the new ones, I even haven't received the acknowledgement letter. Then I hope that as soon as the government opens all the government offices, provincial and federal, then we will receive these acknowledgement letters. Okay, I think that was the last one question. It's, yeah, 12 plus past 12. Then I think we need to finish here. Again, thanks for listening to us, and you can check our presentation in our website and the podcast. Thank you, Carolina, for your support. Without you, I could not do it.
You're
okay,
welcome.
bye.
Bye.